Welcome to session 4 in our series on emotional intelligence. I am Charity Kagwaini, and as I always say, it's always a great joy to join us on this platform to share a couple of thoughts on the things I have learned as a pilgrim this journey of life, and even in my experience as a coach, as a mentor, and as a trainer. And I encourage you to also bring on your light, because together we make this world a better place for all of us to live in. And so we continue with that discussion of emotional intelligence as a platform for sustained success. And I looked at this from session 2. We looked at the life and time of King Saul. When we looked at session 3A and B, the life and time of King David. And in session 4, we will look at the life and time of King Solomon the Great. Then once we have, have wrapped up on Solomon, then I will tie it together for us to see where I have been going on this journey of emotional intelligence. Now, King Solomon the Great took the reins of power from his father, King David. He received a very strong kingdom, courtesy of the successes of his father, David. And when King David was passing on the baton to his son Solomon, he gave him a charge. He told him 3 things. Be strong, show yourself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord your God. In other words, King David, was giving his son Solomon the secret not only for his success, but the secret for sustaining his success. As we saw in session 3A and B, David was a successful king by all means. Now, Solomon, once he received the reins of power, he was keen to do just as his father David had charged him. He even went, a notch higher, and he asked God for 2 things: an understanding mind to govern God's people, and an understanding mind to be able to discern between good and evil. In my view, these 2 things are the pillars for emotional intelligence. An understanding mind to be able to govern the people of God. And when we talk about governing the people of God, we would be talking, right from leadership as, in a nation, leadership in an organization. We'll be talking even about leadership at the family level. So it's leadership at all levels. And the second pillar, a mind that allow an understanding mind to be able to discern between good and evil. Solomon was very successful, and of course we can read his story in the Bible. We are actually told in Chronicles 2:9 and 22 that Solomon excelled all the kings of the earth in riches and in wisdom. That means he was a man who was full, or who exhibited, emotional intelligence. He was actually greatly admired by nations. And we even see the Queen of Sheba coming to visit him. And after her visit, this is what she says: "Half of the greatness of your wisdom was not told me. You surpass the report that I heard." A man of great wisdom, a man who was emotionally intelligent. And during his reign, the kingdom prospered greatly, and even the people that he governed admired him greatly. We are actually told that he made silver as common as stone. Just think for a moment. If you walked out your house this very moment, you will find a couple of stones lying about here and there. And, you can count several of them with just, standing without even walking very far. And now to imagine that King Solomon had made silver as common as stone, that just tells you he was a man who was very wise and very successful. Now we are told of one particular thing that turned things around for Solomon the Great. We are told that he loved many foreign women. And these many foreign women turned his heart away from God, and his heart was not wholly true to God. He became like a fox, with one foot here and one foot the other side. He began to accommodate and entertain foreign things in his life. Allow me again to pause right there, because you probably might be wondering, what is the problem with having many wives? It is actually recorded he had many foreign wives. His father David had many wives, but his wives did not turn him away from God. But the many foreign wives that Solomon had turned him away from God. That is the difference. Which brings me to the only question that I ask in this particular session. When you become successful, do you compromise your faith? Do you begin to love and entertain things that are foreign to your faith? Remember, we are talking about emotional intelligence as the platform for sustained success. And so probably one may ask, what does this have to do with emotional intelligence? In my view, and from where I sit, the greatest emotional intelligence test is the test of one's faith. An emotional intelligence must be anchored on one's faith. And faith does not operate in a vacuum. Faith is founded or rooted in God. Looking at the life of Solomon, perhaps his optimism overtook him and he wanted to conquer more. He wanted to become the dominant. After all, remember, he was a superpower, so he became like a god. So he became more optimistic. And there is nothing wrong with optimism. But perhaps in his optimism to become the dominant, he became like a god, wanting more and more, until he got to the place where he began to entertain that which is foreign. The foundation of Solomon's success was God. Not everything that he did. Yes, he was wise. Yes, he did all the good things. But the foundation of his success was God. Now, these many women turned his heart from God and turned his heart to their gods. And therefore, by compromising on his faith, Solomon the Great, the wise King Solomon, undermined the foundation of his success. And that's the word that I want us to get in this session. Solomon undermined the foundation of his success. For many of us, when we become successful, we begin to undermine the humble beginnings. We begin to see that we have made it, and therefore the things that were foundational to our success do not matter anymore. For some of us, we even begin to look at our families as nothing, and yet they were the foundation of our successes. Though greatly successful, because Solomon undermined the foundation of his successes, he survived through his reign as king. But at the end of his reign, his kingdom was torn into two. Why? He undermined the foundation of his success. And so, though successful, his successes did not transcend his generation. A quick comparison between him and David, his father. David was successful, and he passed on a successful kingdom. Solomon was a success, but he did not pass on a successful kingdom beyond his generation. Emotional intelligence, the platform for sustained success.